time to kick off. And the first thing I'd like to say, welcome everybody. We started these snackable sessions, so these kind of masterclasses. We run them quick. We run them for 15 minutes. Sometimes if we get enough questions, we can convince Michael to stay on for another 5 minutes. But that's just how we roll on these kind of sessions. And there are snackables. This one's around Vizlib Toolbar, tips and tricks. A couple of housekeeping things just before we kick off. We are recording this, so normally we get a lot of people saying, "Are you recording?" We will be, and anyone that's registered that couldn't make it from your team, as long as you're registered, you're on the list. We'll get a recording out. We'll get a demo app out so you can play around with what Michael's showing, and we'll get a little link to the help center. I actually think that on our help side, the community forums, we've got some really nice help around getting the best from Toolbar. My name's Al Herron. I'm head of product marketing. Got the pleasure of introducing Michael Nordström, who probably many of you know, who is our resident expert. We'll flip on to the next slide, please, Michael, because I think, look, okay, a bit of humor here, but here's the thing, self-service. Now, we know that some of the audience is made up of self-service master users. We know a lot about self-service. We have the extensions here. Some of you don't, and you're interested, and I think welcome, and we'll talk about that. But here's the thing, as we give our business users much more dashboard ability and self-service, it's kind of this self-fulfilling prophecy. And I think the key thing around modern analytics and self-service data exploration, those users demand more dashboard control. Vizlib Toolbar allows you to still keep your dashboards uncluttered. And I think that's really what we want to move on to. So we're going to learn a few things really around what is Vizlib Toolbar. We're going to do a deep dive, and then we're going to introduce you to Michael for the hands-on demo, which is the bit that I think everybody is looking forward to. Michael, kind of at this slide, do you want to take away? What I want to do just before I give you the floor, we've got a Q&A. I think this is what everyone really enjoys who regularly join these sessions. If we could ask you, if you look at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A section. So don't put things in chat. It's easier if we can just reply all on Q&A as a Q&A section. And at this point, I always say this, which makes Michael smile. Let's give Michael some difficult questions. It is Thursday afternoon or Thursday morning for some people, but Michael's Thursday afternoon. Let's give him the difficult questions today. Michael, over to you.
Thank you. Always up for the challenge. So let's see what you can come up with. Just wanted to sort of go through where we are in our products. We have 5 products, as probably most of you know. We have the library with all the dashboarding, all the guided analytics stuff. We have self-service, which is mainly focused on self-service, but also has a few other things. And that is where we are today. So in this blue area, the self-service product is where we are today. And the toolbar is an important part of making sure that we can add that extra functionality for the users. We have that need for selections and interactions, but we want to make it small, we want to make it nimble, we want to make sure that it looks nice, and that's what we're trying to do, or trying to allow you to do with the toolbar. These other products, finance, Gantt, and collaboration, not going to talk about them today, but if you're interested, of course, do let us know. And with that, I'm going to jump into the demo because this is the most interesting part that we're going to do today. And the reason I'm talking quite fast is because it's going to take a little bit of time to do this. So I'm going to try to get through it all. And if you have questions, post them in the Q&A. So we're going to start just by adding the toolbar to a page. And typically what we use the toolbar for is to have it, like we said, interactions and selections, but we don't want to use a lot of space. So I'm going to put it up here. Obviously, we can place it in different positions, as we're going to see later. We now get the toolbar layout editor. We get some suggestions on what we can do with the toolbar. I'm going to go with 6 columns, 1 row, which means that I'm given 6 objects. We are not going to do any sort of special things here like slide in and floating. We're going to talk about it later, and I will show you how it works. So 6 items. With these, I can sort of add dimensions or measures or variables. I'm going to start by adding dimensions, and just a few of them here, just to make sure that we get something on here. So as I add these, you will see that it starts adding different types of visualizations for it. So I'm going to keep, again, sorry, dimensions, and we're going to add a year, and we're going to go with a month as well. So we need that. Month, there we go. And we're going to add one more dimension, then we're going to be done. Date. And now, as you can see, it's added drop down, selection bar, drop down, and calendar. And this is because it kind of tries to guess what we need. If there's few values, not a lot of them, it usually goes with the selection bar. I'm going to make this one a drop down anyway. We're going to keep the selection bar for a year, but we're actually also going to make the month into a selection bar. And we're also going to add a little bit of space. So as I move things out to the right, we actually get more, as you can see, more squares on the screen. The grid expands, and we can do this. We can add a lot. So we could actually make this very, very big if we wanted to. I'm actually going to make it one smaller. I think we'll make it good. So you can leave spaces in the middle, but any space that you leave on the right or at the bottom will be ignored. So you can still leave a space here, and that will just add a bit of empty space in the middle if you wanted to. But anything that you add on the right, if it's an empty space, it's just going to take it away. So you can make this really big. Just understand that you can make the screen, the grid super big and very sort of detailed. So you can position these exactly how you want. I'm not going to be that sort of picky now with exactly how I position it, but you can. So now these show up on the screen. We get the drop downs, we get the selection bar, we have the date and the calendar. So as I click on these, it will jump to the selections for that item in the property panel. When I get to that, and we have this functionality in a few other extensions as well. When I get to that, we have the different settings, and we can make these horizontal or vertical. What I want to do here is make them no wrap. That also adds those nice little looking rounded corners. And I'm actually going to do the same to this one. Also no wrap, just to make it a little bit nicer looking. Then one interesting thing here that we need to talk about is when it comes to appearance and the fonts, we have what we called responsive fonts. So we've changed this to a responsive font. Obviously now it's too big. Let's make it something smaller. What we do with responsive fonts is that we can use something that's called viewport, and this is commonly used in HTML to be able to change the font size depending on the screen size. So we've now made this into 0.75, which means that it's actually 0.5 times the size of the screen. Actually now the width of the screen, because it says VW here, which is width. If I did this, it would be height, and this would actually take the minimum, the smallest of the two, and use that to make the size of the text. I'm not going to bore you with the full math, but you can do the math if you wanted to. What really happens is that if we make the screen a little bit smaller, as you can see, the text also becomes smaller. And you can, of course, sort of optimize this to make sure that it always shows what you want. But now you see this, the text gets smaller as we make that smaller. So that's the basic part. I wanted to add one more thing here. So we're actually going to add one more toolbar on the screen, and we're going to make it a vertical one. And let's put it here somewhere. Let's make it this big. And the same thing here. Now I just want one column, 5 rows, and don't want to do anything special. And I'm just going to sort of input something else here. We're going to change, we're going to do one more dimension. That's going to be the country. And I'm actually going to delete that one and move these up a little bit. And we're also going to try to add something else. So we're going to add variables. I'm going to add an on-off value. I'm going to add a variable for input, and I'm going to add one more value for a slider, just to be able to demo a little bit what we can do with that. So we have first we have the country dropdown, and we don't want this to be a dropdown. We actually want this to be an image. And if we click on flag, it will automatically detect this as a flag since it has the country code. So really good one means that we can do that. You can, of course, insert any image here. So any link will display as an image, but we decided that we want to do this one as a flag. So we're just going to make it a little bit smaller and something like that, probably. It still leaves us a bit of space. So this way we all of a sudden have an image and a flag for each one. And we can make selections in these just like we would in anything. So it just works as a selection of flags. If you have fewer countries, it will look nicer. In this example, we have lots of countries, so it's going to pick all of them. Here we can do an input, and of course what we wanted to do here was we don't want to do input on this one because it was a single value. So what we're going to do here, we're going to add a switch. This one was actually an input, so we're going to keep it like that. And for this one, we're going to add a slider. You could also use selection bars, drop downs, and calendars also for variables. So consider exactly what you want to do. But it means you have a lot of things that you can do with variables in here as well. So now move a slider, change the value, and it changes the variable value. Or you can just have a switch turning something on and off, and it turns on and off the variable. Since you know how that works, I'm not going to display the variable. You're going to have to trust me that it changes the variable. So far, so simple, I hope. And there's more things that I want to show you, but this is the basic part just to get started, and then you can customize this a lot. So just to sort of show you the basic settings, we have a few settings for the colors. So obviously the fonts that we're talking about, you can also change the font color. But you can also, apart from the font, you can also change the colors of the background, the element background, and you can also change the margin between the different items. So if you wanted a bigger margin between them, you could really change that and just allow it to be a lot bigger. And this means that you could hopefully customize this exactly the way that you want in terms of how far away from each other they are and how they look. One more thing that I'm going to show you, or actually a few more things. Really interesting one when you're conserving space. So we can have expand. So we can allow the toolbar, and here you can see a completely different look. Sorry about the design. And you can have it expand from the top. So this way you don't have to use any screen real estate. You can just expand it from the top or from the side. And obviously you can decide how far this should expand. So it's a really useful feature just to be able to expand a few more settings. You could even just have a few normal settings here and then expand to add the extra ones. Another way to do the same thing is to actually open up selections like this. So now I have a button that opens up a floating selection area. This way the user can move around the selection area. They can make selections just like normal, but they don't have to use up important space. A few more things to note about this, which might be interesting, is that we've added lines in between. So line is also an object that you can add just to make the design look a little bit nicer. And a detail here around the alignment, how to align things to make them sort of align to the sides if you wanted them to. So you see that this one's left aligned, this one's right aligned, and the other one is center aligned. This way we get it sort of spread out to the sides so that we get everything looking nice. And here you have a button, and with buttons you can do actions. In this case the action is clear. So you can clear the selections, but it could also be a button that sort of moves you to a different page or does something else. If you're familiar with Vizlib actions, there's a lot of things that you can do with them, and you can get to that through the button that you can put on the toolbar. I think I'm almost running out of time. I'm going to just show you one more thing around bookmarks. So you can actually connect this to bookmarks. So with bookmarks, you can obviously make selections. You can make selections based on either just a normal selection, or you can actually make a selection based on an expression. So if you've made an expression that, for example, search for something, you can make it at apply. So in this case, I've done something relatively simple just to showcase this. So any country that includes land, which is obviously an expression behind that. So I select that and I get all the countries that include land. And Stan is Pakistan. So that selection basically just selects that. Any country that ends with IA, actually a lot of them, surprisingly few, and surprisingly many. And of course, more business-like, we could do something like countries with sales over 2 million. We could select those. This is using the normal bookmark functionality, but you actually get those bookmarks in a simple drop-down, and you can decide what bookmarks goes into this. So you can filter and not get all the bookmarks, because obviously if we look at the bookmarks here, we have more bookmarks. But in the drop-down here in the toolbar, you can configure exactly what type of things you want to show up. So with fast talking, I have spent 14 minutes talking, which is 1 minute more than I should have, but I just wanted to show you a different design. This is also the normal toolbar, just a different design of it. So I just wanted to show you that one as well. And now I am done, and we're going to jump to QA and see what we have.
I think it's nice, Michael. Whenever we have you on these sessions, it's nice to see your excitement for the product, and we see that coming back from our customers as well, which is nice. Right, we've got 4 questions so far, so very much, I encouraged you to give Michael a hard time. We want tougher questions than these. I'm going to start with one I like. I know you'll want to answer. What's the difference between this and selection bar?
All right, good one. So the selection bar is basically the old version of the toolbar. It's way more limited. It doesn't do all the things that the toolbar does. We are not adding any features to the selection bar. We decided to build a toolbar instead, which is much more flexible, has a lot more features, faster, better, sort of just a really nice thing that is just everything that the selection bar does and so much more.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll speed up actually to get through these. Nice to see the questions coming through. Please keep them coming. What comes next after this? This is great, Michael. What's coming after this? What would you?
Oh, so what we're adding next to the extension, I guess the question is, right? So yeah. What we're adding next is we are fine-tuning the design a little bit. I'm not there's some details that I'm not keen on. Specifically, that the drop downs don't look exactly the way that we want them. We want them to align with everything else in terms of design to make that look just a little bit nicer. We're also adding even more flexibility in the design. So if in the future, you'll actually be able to sort of have a different color just for this area, for example. So you might be able to highlight some of the selections and color them a different way. That might make a lot of sense. Some of the things, yeah. So a lot of design things and sort of structuring it, making sure that you can do all those things that you want to do.
Yeah, I like Rob's question. Hi, I was wondering if within the floating toolbar, if you're able to force users to make selections using this before data is displayed at the table, rather than the table displaying all the data before a selection's made.
So automatic selections is already there in Qlik Sense. And they're done before the rendering of the chart. So if you use those things in native Qlik Sense, I think that's a better approach than actually making pre-selected things in the toolbar. We have intentionally not added that functionality. I think that was the question.
Yes.
But, yeah. So we have intentionally not added it to the toolbar because it's so much better to actually use the native one, because it does the selection before rendering rather than first rendering and then us making a selection and then rendering it again. So no point in having that functionality anymore, but feel free to try to convince me different if that's something that you want.
So the drop down of a dimension is basically a filter question.
Yes, exactly the same. Works the same. The only thing with the drop downs is that we can add more things in the drop downs than just dimensions. As I showed, we could also add a bookmark to the drop down if we wanted to. Yeah. So we could have other things in the drop down, and not just, and also for variables, we could have a number of different variables in the drop down and then make a selection. So we can do more things with it, but yeah, very often it's just a normal filter drop down. The only thing is that you can put it inside the toolbar and make it look really nice.
Yeah. Any limitations of objects that can be displayed performance-wise?
No, I don't think that we added any limit, but let me know if you hit a limit. That'd be interesting.
We always like that question, don't we? We always like to test. Next one, can this replace sheet menu, Michael?
Not really, but it works really well inside the sheet menu as well. So we can actually add this inside the sheet menu. So, for example, for selections in sheet menu, if you're adding a lot of filters in sheet menu, it will slow it down quite a bit. So instead, what you could do, you could add one object with the toolbar, and the number of filters in the toolbar and add that instead, and it would be rendered much quicker. So that would actually be a nicer one to do. I don't think it replaces the sheet menu. It does some of the same things, but it doesn't do the changing of the colors of the background, and it doesn't change the actual top menu and things like that. So no, I don't think it replaces it, but it works really well together with it.
Brilliant. Yeah. And then we've got Luke is asking, is Toolbar Qlik SaaS compatible, Michael?
Yes.
That was an easy one, but I thought I'd ask. Thank you, Luke. Can you make conditional fields in the toolbar based on a variable?
Conditional fields, yes. I mean, yes.
Can you have locked filters when using this toolbar?
No.
Could a function like the floating selection window also be used to show another chart, more detailed than in the standard?
No.
Button?
We only use it for displaying the different things that you can display with the toolbar, and we don't have charts in the toolbar or master items. For floating things and stuff like that, I would suggest using the Viz tips that we can have, and use them to open up over if you wanted to display something over everything. Interesting question, interesting idea though.
Yeah. I like Samuel's question because it stops me having to remind myself to remind you guys. But can this app be sent to webinar participants? And the answer, I will answer that one, is yes, we will send it out. Amit asks, can you add a chart to the toolbar?
No.
Or any other visualization?
No.
Again, for a moment. And Chris asks, is a mashup compatible?
Yes.
Do you have an example of the toolbar used in the menu?
No, I don't actually. That's a good point. No, but it's really easy. All you need to do is create your toolbar, make it a master item, and then include it in the sheet menu. And then you can have it like in the side menu and things like that.
Lovely. And I'm going to, in actual fact, I am going to, Anonymous asks, which version of Vizlib is this? Which is kind of just a reinforcement to...
So this is the latest version of the toolbar. This is actually even a development version that I'm running right now. So it's slightly newer than the latest version of the toolbar.
Yeah.
But yeah, very close to.
And I actually read that question as not version, but which extension of Vizlib is in there. And to remind everyone, this is Vizlib Toolbar, which is in our self-service. At that point, what's the time, Michael? I think we've actually bizarrely, I think we sped up. I can't see the time right now. We're 3 minutes. We're 8 minutes over, but it's been enjoyable and it was very much rapid fire. I want to thank everybody for joining today. If you have any questions, please get in contact with us. Michael and I will directly answer any of your questions. We've got of course, many of you have been invited directly by Julie and the CSM. So the customer success team, they're here to make you guys successful. So please feel free if you've got a customer success manager to do that. We're here. Everyone will get recording tomorrow. We'll make sure that comes out tomorrow. Again, with the app and a link to the help center. But please let us know if there's anything else. So I always thank Michael, but for that was really good, Michael. Appreciated it. I learned some things today. But the people we want to thank the most are you, the most important people that turned up today. So just lovely to see so many people, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers. Bye.